Welcome, everyone. I am Madison Clark with McKinney Economic Development Corporation, and I'm very pleased to host a friend and wonderful colleague today here with you. Kevin Shatley is with the Dallas Regional Chamber, and you're in for a treat today, so stay tuned.
We just go back to that whole idea that it's a sense of place.
Yes, absolutely.
Not everybody has that,
Right.
and some communities have to get developers to come in and create a sense of place. And McKinney hasn't had to do that.
Yeah.
We have a history of that
We do.
here. And so that's what makes people feel good about that. And that separates it because everybody's got buildings, everybody's got land. Do I feel good in the community and do I feel welcome?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the differences is that from the leadership on down, from the mayor to everyone that touches a site visit,
Yeah.
that's important. Let's make them feel like you could be here. You could see a long-term 30-year, 40-year decision to be here.
So, Kevin, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here in our podcast studio today.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Not too far from home, right?
No, I actually live here in McKinney. From McKinney.
From McKinney.
I say I'm kind of an endangered species. I was born and raised here.
I love it. And I believe we've had this conversation. You were born at a hospital that's not even in existence here anymore, right?
No, it's a parking lot.
It's a parking lot. That's great. So you could school us on all things McKinney.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So let's jump in a little. We will talk all things economic development. Of course, the Dallas Regional Chamber, or commonly referred to in our industry as the DRC, is a huge ally and partner for us here at McKinney EDC, which we're very grateful for. But let's take a step back from the DRC world and talk about Kevin Shatley. So, born and raised here in McKinney.
Was.
How did you get into the field of economic development?
Well, I had once I graduated from McKinney High School, I went off to school in Austin, and I, did some things coming out of college. Then I got connected with the chamber in Austin, and so I was doing some volunteer work with them, and I made a connection with the vice president of economic development, and started talking and everything. And it was like, well, I really like what the chamber was doing.
Right.
I really liked what Austin was doing at the time, and he said, well, why don't we talk about coming on board? And so really, it's I was selling the region there, and so that's how I got in economic development.
Wow.
And I had a brief stint in Arlington, and it was around the time that the Cowboys made the decision to go to Arlington. They were shopping the stadium around,
Wow.
which was interesting to engage from that standpoint.
Yeah.
And so after a few life changes and things, I ended up here back in McKinney, taking care of my mother at the time, and went to work for the Dallas Regional Chamber.
Wow.
I've been there in 2 weeks. It'll be 10 years at the DRC.
10 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So.
Did you start in economic development at the DRC?
No, I didn't. I actually
Okay.
started in membership and revenue growth. So I wanted a way in, so to sell chamber memberships. I actually believe in what chambers do and what chambers of commerce do and organizations like that to bring communities together.
Absolutely.
And support the business community, because that's really what the heartbeat of any community, whether it's McKinney or the region or
Right.
Dallas, anything.
Absolutely.
So it's just when you get everybody talking and on the same page, that's a good thing for us.
The DRC does terrific programming. I think one of the most recent events that I had the privilege of attending with the DRC was when Governor Abbott was brought in to share about the state as a whole. Was it State of the State?
State of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is great.
We had exactly a week to plan that event.
Wow.
And we reached out to our regional allies, such as McKinney, and gave the opportunity there, and really excited for that because we had over 400 people attend that.
It was very well attended.
It's great to have be recognized from the governor's office.
Absolutely. Yeah, very good. And that's one thing I think too that we really value with the DRC is your relationships and partnerships that your side of the equation brings to the table as well. And when your organization is strong and our organization is strong, and then we come together and have a seat at the same table, we can really make a big difference in our communities. So we really value what the DRC does. So the DRC was recently given an award, some type of recognition. So tell our listeners what you guys received.
What's that award? We were named in 2022. We were named National Chamber of the Year.
Wow!
And so that was a competition of think about all the chambers in the country, right? And there are different categories based on size, population size, right? And we were the largest population of over 1 million, and in DFW alone, there's about 160 chambers alone. So you multiply that all over the country, and we were fortunate to do that. We did have to propose basically a dissertation of work that we had done, and part of that work was during COVID. We raised money in sponsorships and got over 600,000 people vaccinated.
Wow!
And especially in underserved areas.
Right.
And so that was part of what we talked about in our Chamber of the Year submittal.
Wow, that's great. And that's great that, as a business-oriented organization, you realize the health of the community is just as important. And that's probably generally outside the quote-unquote typical scope of a chamber, right, to engage in the healthcare of people. But obviously the pandemic really put us all on our heads and tried to figure out, what to do next. So commend your efforts in that regard.
Yeah, we do work with all the health systems in the region and convene their CEOs actually to talk about healthcare. Because if we don't have good healthcare and we don't have good services for our citizens, then it affects your job as an economic developer. And so we need to make sure everybody has an even playing field.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. So give us the kind of 30-second overview of the Dallas Regional Chamber, and then I want to dive into the more economic development side of the DRC and some of the activities you guys have going on.
Absolutely. Well, we're the largest chamber in the region. We have not by size of membership, but just the size of what we do. We work in 4 specific areas. We work in economic development, public policy, workforce and education, and diversity, equity, inclusion. Those are our 4 pillars. And everything we do has to fit in one of those buckets, right? Programming, events, things that we do. And so without all these working together, it just doesn't work, right? Economic development, we can bring all the companies we want here, but if we don't have the workforce and education and really paying attention to training up that workforce, it does us no good. Public policy, we have a dedicated policy team that spends all their time in Austin, particularly during the legislative session, to make sure that we have a good pro-business climate. That's the bottom line for that. And then when we have diversity, equity, inclusion, that actually came out of things that happened during the pandemic, and with the George Floyd, our board leaned into that. And so we had areas for supplier diversity, equity in the different communities. Because in DFW, we do have the have-nots, have and have-nots. You can go 12 miles from southern Dallas in South Oak Cliff to Highland Park. And the disparity is incredible.
It is.
So what our board has decided is that what we want to work on are things to help, again, elevate a good opportunity for everyone. Make this the best place to live, work, and do business in the country. And I think we're doing okay. We're trying.
Absolutely.
And McKinney's a critical part of that and what we do and our partners.
Yes, we really value our partnership with the DRC. So to kind of enlighten some of our listeners who may not be aware of this, so we have the privilege of working with the DRC and some of the site location decisions for companies that are looking to locate to the region. And so the DRC has a marketing team, and you yourself, you're traveling quite a bit out representing the region. Sometimes our staff here at the EDC will have the privilege of traveling with you and representing the region as a whole. One thing that we really pride ourselves in here in McKinney is selling the region. I mean, when we're traveling, across the states and even abroad, sometimes people don't know of McKinney, which is absolutely fine. But we sell the region. And I know we could not do that if it weren't for, the efforts that you guys do and so many other great great organizations here in the region. So we appreciate that partnership. But what's on the horizon for the DRC right now? So you just came back from a conference, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that Boston? Is
It's
it Bio?
Boston. It was Bio 2023. It's the world's largest biotechnology and life sciences conference. People from all over the world. There were over 20,000 attendants there. And one thing that we did, you're exactly right about working with partners. We did take 8 communities, which McKinney was one. Michael Talley went with us. So what we decided last year after attending, we went with the state of Texas. And we said, well, we need to make sure that people know about DFW and what we're doing in life science. And so that's why we had a booth. We engaged people and told them about our story. I mean, that we're storytellers. We at the DRC act a lot of times like maybe a state does in, working with companies and site selection consultants, as you said, to be able to facilitate them having the right situation for their company. Right? And so this, we've worked together for a long time, but it's really critical that somebody helps them navigate a big place like us, okay?
Absolutely.
I mean, we have 9 cities of over 200,000 in DFW. We have over 15 cities of over 100,000.
Wow.
And we often say it's, we're not hurting, cats. We're hurting lions and tigers.
Yes.
Because of that. McKinney being one, over 200,000 people. When I grew up back a long time ago, I left this town and it was 14,000 people.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so one high school.
Yeah.
It's changed.
Right.
And that's the whole region. We're the we got 8 million people in this region, and we're the 4th largest market in the United States, and we'll probably pass Chicago by 2028. So, but that's what we do is take people out, go recruit, go bring back good jobs to the region.
Right, absolutely. That's great. So how was Bio? Was that successful?
It was incredibly successful. We made contact with over 400 people, contacts, companies, which we're following up now with. We believe life sciences and biotechnology, along with everything else the region has to offer, is going to be the next thing that we need to really focus on.
Right.
Because of what we have as key components to the region. UT Southwestern Medical School, it's a Tier 1 research university. TCU's getting a medical school. There's a lot of emphasis on that. And the community colleges, from Collin College to Dallas College to UT Dallas, there's a lot of smart people in this region, and we just need to let people know about that. And that's what we did. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're still sorting through the leads. I'm got a meeting this week with an Australian company that's doing computational biology. I have no idea what
Interesting.
that is.
Yeah, that's a little beyond my expertise, right?
I'll tell you what it is when I find out.
Okay, great. That's awesome. That's something to think about our field is that we're constantly exposed to the emerging industries, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You can never settle, and you're always learning. That's one thing that has really kept me engaged in this industry is the fact that it's always something new, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's fun because, when you talk to people from an entrepreneur to a large Fortune 500 company, everybody's passionate about what they do, right? And I think that's what we're passionate about, our communities.
Right.
And that's why we can sell that. And that's what makes us as successful, because we do get along for most part. It's there's competition in the region, but if you land something here in McKinney, the workforce is not going to just come from McKinney.
Correct.
It's going to come from the entire area.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about where things are going.
For sure. We, have often said in our 4 walls here that if we're not landing the company here in McKinney, we want it to be in the region. We want the region to win. If it can't be us, obviously we'd like to have our cake, right? But if it can't be us, then we will play nice in the sandbox and share.
I understand.
Right. So what are some recent wins that the DRC has had a hand in?
Well, some that we've had recently, we had one called Evolve Biologics, and that's over in a community just southeast of here, Saxe, Texas, 34,000 people, but it's making plasma therapeutics. They're from Canada, and they were looking for an opportunity. There was land there, the proximity to places like McKinney and UTD and just the North Texas area in general,
Right.
made it something that they wanted to do. They're going to hire about 300 people.
Wow.
And these are good paying jobs. These are engineers and technicians. And so it's that step into that.
Yeah.
Recently we had a solar component manufacturer. It's for commercial applications. It's not for your home. And it's going to hire over 1,500 people in southern Dallas County, which is a focus of ours on some industries, just to be able to provide good jobs.
Absolutely.
These are great technical jobs for southern Dallas County.
Wow,
So
that's great.
Another Canadian company. We have a lot. We have a lot of interest from Canada.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Good to
I think
know.
it's an easy way for them to come to the States and put a foothold in.
Right.
So those are just some that are
Good.
there. Caterpillar, has been in the news, and so things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we've had the privilege of doing some site visits together through the years, and of course have appreciated those efforts. The DRC often will begin the conversations and then funnel them to the communities so that the communities can be the local experts. But we appreciate the broader approach that you guys take and then share with us as communities. So.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without y'all. Y'all are, the communities are the ones that can make it happen. I can bring it to the table. My job essentially is to try to keep it from going to Atlanta,
Right.
Charlotte, Nashville. And if I can get them here, people like yourself and others in the region, that y'all can close the deal.
For
and
sure.
that's what we depend on.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about some of the challenges that maybe face the region. And I like to more pose them and frame them as opportunities. So tell us about some of the opportunities you might see ahead for the region.
The opportunities, we've got great things that are going to happen. From a standpoint, we've got to keep on with housing. We've got to keep building housing. We've got to make affordable housing. We've got to make it keep it affordable to live here. Some of the markets, we are probably the most affordable tech market in the country from a standpoint of just the talent that's here.
Right.
The Bay Area is not affordable.
Correct.
Right? And so it gives opportunities for people. We've got to keep up with our infrastructure, and we do a good job around here. Roads, we got to connect people together. And so I think those are the things that we're doing. Education is huge. We've got to make sure that our kids are learning skills that will take them through life, right? And here in McKinney too, with the high schools, you can almost do dual credit and get an associate degree coming out. And that's what it's going to take, right? I mean, it's the education and the jobs of the future are those that are technical, that are going to work in a situation that's advanced manufacturing. And I think McKinney is poised for that as well because of the 75 corridor.
Right.
From everything that goes on here, right? I mean, you've already got industry here that's doing that. But with Texas Instruments, $30 billion in Sherman, all up and down 75. So we've got to make sure of that. So those are the kind of things that we have to make sure, and we have to grow. We have to grow our workforce. It's one of those cases that we're not cloning people yet, so we've got to get them someplace, and we've got to make sure people are trained. But workforce and education are the key.
Yeah, absolutely. What were some of the outcomes from this past legislative session in regards to the incentives that the state has given local economic developers? Can you talk to that a little bit?
I can a little bit. So one of the big things was in the last legislative session.
Say that 5 times
Say
fast,
that
right?
5 times.
Good tongue twister for you.
We lost a tool that allows school districts to participate in incentives.
Yeah.
And I know that's a controversial thing sometimes, but really if you think about a large-scale project that's making a huge capital investment, right? In some towns, when you get a $30 billion investment in a community, that investment's going to pay more in school taxes than the rest of the district combined.
Correct.
So they had to have a way of doing that. Well, that sunset and died in the last legislative session. We actually we're able to get that through now for a new version of that. And it's called House Bill 5.
Right.
And there's going to be more to it. Just got signed by the governor, so we're still working out the details. But a couple of things that it does, it's 50% of the value. There's some tax benefits there. But if it's in an opportunity zone, which are federally federally set, the governor actually nominated those back like 3 years ago, and those are in place. And it would the tax abatement would go up to 75%, and so it's a way to help some more maybe underserved areas.
Right.
But that's back on the table. Many site selection consultants say we have to have that because the school taxes are the biggest part of your bill.
Right.
And you've got to have that, have some participation, or we won't be looked at for.
Yeah.
You'll hear about the electric vehicles or the batteries or the semiconductors and that type of thing. We will not be looked at these large-scale billions of dollar projects if we don't have everybody participating.
Correct.
And it's a big win, but we still have to work out the details.
Yeah. But it is a great win for the state, and then an extra tool in our tool belt as economic developers. And now the DRC is not the organization or body that's granting the incentives, for instance, but you at least have that in your, like I said, your toolbox that you can help market when you're selling the region outside of the state here.
Absolutely. We're in competition with states like Tennessee and Georgia that give a lot away. They give land away. They give power away. They give a lot. And we don't do that in Texas. And so the state cannot do that. Part of the factor is that we don't have a state income tax, corporate or personal. So we're not taxing you and then giving your money back to you. So you come here because we're a great place to do business. But they do need some incentives to help them. Absolutely. And I look at incentives like a scholarship. It's not a program to give away. It's a reward for somebody coming and doing a great job in your community.
Absolutely. And providing the types of jobs that the community is looking for. And I mean, the investment, when you look at the economic impact sometimes of different projects making these large million and billion dollar investments, the outcome that it's generated to our school systems is just impeccable,
It's huge.
So, and that's what we want. We want money to continue to be infused towards our workforce, our future workforce, right? Towards education, just like you've talked about. If our students and our pipeline isn't strong, then our business community is not strong. So it's a very cyclical effect, right? But it can get granular into each individual student and what that means for pumping money back into the local economy to train our workforce,
Absolutely.
So, and being here from McKinney, what are some benefits to, I'll say, living here and doing business here? What could you share with us?
Well, the thing is that McKinney's always going to have a special place for me, right? And I do have to play nice with everyone.
You don't. We won't tell.
I know. But just the positioning of McKinney.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got great highway access. I tell you one thing that's huge for McKinney is the airport. It's going to be a benefit.
Right.
It already is a benefit. And the opportunities that are there for the airport is going to be big. A lot of people travel to and through McKinney to get to other places, and so keeping that workforce here is important. But y'all are a great professional staff, which makes a huge difference, and actually caring about the region and caring about the community. Great schools, hey, I'm a product of it, so why not?
Right.
But no, great schools, just calling colleges here, the investments that are here, the employers you have here are strong, right? I mean, Raytheon, those types of companies bring talented people here from around the country. So they come here and know McKinney. And that's a benefit that other communities, frankly, just don't have, having large employers. I mean, you've got Independent Financial that's based here.
Absolutely.
So they're going to bring talent here. So those are already, jewels in your crown.
Right.
Just that few of a things to have that, and other communities would do a lot for that. They would really want those kind of things.
Yeah, well, thank you. We see those things ourselves too, but it's good to hear from a regional perspective. And we know you can't play favorites, but with you living here in McKinney, you've got a little bit a different insight than some others, you know. So
well, yeah, I do, and I see how favorably everything is done here, right, and how in a positive light, and how welcoming people are. Plus, we just go back to that whole idea that it's a sense of place.
yes, absolutely.
Not everybody has that,
Right.
and some communities have to get developers to come in and create a sense of place. And McKinney hasn't had to do that.
Yeah.
We have a history of that
We do.
here. And so that's what makes people feel good about that. And, that separates it because everybody's got buildings. Everybody's got land. Do I feel good in the community? And do I feel welcomed?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the differences is that from the leadership on down, from the mayor to everyone that touches a site visit,
Yeah.
that's important. That's make them feel like they, you could be here. You could see a long-term 30-year, 40-year decision to
Right.
be here.
Wow. Well, thank you. That means a ton to us as, we're grinding here at the local level every day and really trying to do the best for the community. And we appreciate to hear that our efforts, the very small part that we play, is paying off, and it does create that sense of community that even you as a resident, you feel like you belong here, and you know that you belong here. You know,
and I'm proud of it as
Yeah.
a resident, right? I mean, I feel good about that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's a good feeling when you can say that.
Yeah, that's great. So let's roll to some rapid fire questions.
Oh boy.
And first, I have to know, what's in your Starbucks drink today? What are you drinking?
I drink a blonde roast
Blonde roast, okay,
with cream.
with cream.
That's it.
Any special cream or just
No,
cream?
just
cream.
just a little touch of heavy cream.
Any pumps of vanilla
No,
or caramel?
no,
Anything?
no.
You're
Straight-
just like, nope.
straight caffeine. Let's just go with
It's
that.
just straight. The more caffeine, the better, right? I hear you.
Absolutely.
So, what is some of the best advice you've ever received?
Stay loyal. Treat your friends well, and because you don't know, and you don't know who you're going to have to depend on in the
Right.
future, right?
good.
And everybody you meet, make sure that that you try to get a connection with, because again, you don't know when that's going to come back around, and you might need that connection in a good way.
Right.
I'm not to take advantage of them,
Yeah.
but you just don't know what that situation will be. But everybody's got a story, and everybody's got something that's important to them, and try to learn about that.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good advice. So, you do a lot of traveling for business. What is one of the strangest things that you've seen?
It's strange is probably it's like when people don't act right on the planes. I mean, it's crazy. I was on a flight not long ago. We pulled into DFW. We actually got in early.
Oh, that's great.
Kind of a novel concept,
No
right?
kidding.
And people were just beside themselves because they were needing to make connections. Well, a woman literally got up. The attendant is sitting right next to her. The woman got up, got her bag off the overhead, and went to first class and sat in a seat. And we're on the ground. We're getting ready to go to the gate. But I mean, she was just like, "I'm done.
Right.
I'm gonna get off the plane."
How strange.
And she wanted to get off. I mean, I just thought that was like, because I'm kind of a rule follower.
Yeah.
Don't unbuckle your seatbelt.
Right, until you're like docked at the gate, right?
I
You're
put it in airplane
Yes,
mode as soon as I get on. Because whatever. But she was just everybody's.
Interesting.
And she just got up and she got her bag, and like if she could have stood by the door, she would have.
Right.
It's just odd.
Yeah. When you travel, and I mean, you see the craziest things, right? I mean, just different people's normals are very different, right?
It is. It's different. You
Yeah.
know, business travel is different than leisure travel.
Yes.
For sure.
Yep, absolutely.
And, I like seeing people have fun on the plane and traveling.
Right.
But sometimes it's a little frustrating for those of us that do it all the time.
Yes.
Right.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
anyway.
Okay, so along the lines of travel, do you have a bucket list personal destination?
Yes. I would love to go to Egypt and go to the pyramids.
Oh, how neat.
And go down the Nile.
Yes.
And,
that is amazing.
There's been some opportunities, but COVID hit and some stuff. But that I really want to, it's going to either be overwhelming,
right,
or it's going to be underwhelming.
Underwhelming, yeah.
And so, but I really want to go. My wife and I want to go to there. We went to Greece pre-pandemic,
okay,
and to walk among things that were thousands of years old was beyond.
Yeah,
and
makes you feel so small, right? I
mean,
and
it's like, okay, 3,000 years ago, how did they do this?
Yes.
And so but going to the pyramids, I want to go.
That's neat. Okay, well, I'll be cheering you on in that, so you'll have to
we'll see.
make that come along sometime soon.
I'll post it on LinkedIn.
Yes, you sure will. A selfie with Adriana Cruz somehow, right? you seem to
I
find her.
I don't know if we'll do a trip to the
Nile.
Of Texas to the Nile. Yeah.
Right. No recruitment from the Nile to Texas.
I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe so.
Right? You never know.
Yeah.
But hopefully that trip will be more for personal, not business.
It will.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, any last parting comments that you'd like to share with us or any of our listeners here about economic development in the region or the DRC or McKinney, anything?
I'm excited about the region.
Yeah.
I'm excited about everybody that is working in the region and what y'all are doing here in McKinney. It's just great to have great partners. We all have that in business. We either have people that it's a challenge to work with, customers or whatever, but I don't have to worry about things when I call up here and talk to anybody in the office. And so I think we're poised for excitement in the region. We've got the World Cup coming here in a few years. We've got other opportunities, and it's just not, it's not going to stop. I joked with somebody back in about 2018. They said, "Well, y'all are hot, right? You're creating 1 million jobs in 10 years. What's going to stop it?" And I said it. I said, a global pandemic.
Really?
It happened.
Wow.
But we didn't stop.
Right.
We actually got busier because of who we are and the resilience of the people of DFW.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I agree. Great. Well, we're very thrilled to have, like I said, allies with the DRC and appreciate the engagement and partnership that we have. We can call each other, text each other, email, really make it happen in whatever level, form of communication we need to, and we appreciate that. So thank you for continuing to sell the region and for you personally, all the travel that you're doing to market the region. So you're doing great.
Great.
We're happy to be a part of it.
Great. Well, I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Kevin Shatley. He has such a great insight on McKinney as a whole, from graduating here in McKinney, graduating high school when population was 14,000 to now today with population over 210,000. So we appreciate Kevin being here, and we would love for you to continue along in this journey with us on McKinney Momentum. So please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you choose to digest your podcast. Thanks so much.